Today we are going to be talking about solving our quadratic equations by graphing them. So we are going to utilize our calculator to graph our quadratic equations, and we're also going to graph them by hand. So what we want to remember is that our solutions are also known as zeros, as the x-intercepts, and also as roots. These all refer to the same thing. So the point in which our quadratic equations or functions intersect the x-axis are our solutions. So we're going to look for anytime it crosses the x-axis. We have three possible types of solutions. We can have situations where we have two solutions, where we swoop down and swoop back up, and we cross the x-axis twice. So that gives us two solutions. We could have a situation where our graph swoops down, it just touches the x-axis in one place, and we have one solution. Or we could have a situation where we have no solutions, where our graph never reaches the x-axis, so it never touches. And these graphs could be upside down, with whichever direction they are pointing. It doesn't matter. It just matters if it crosses the x-axis. So we're going to look at our first example. We have y equals x squared plus 4x minus 5. So we're going to jump to the calculator and get the values for our graph. This is the easiest way to do it in order to execute these questions as quickly as possible, especially when in preparation for something like the Texas Algebra 1 STAR. We want to utilize our calculator and master those skills. So we're going to go to the calculator, enter our equation, find the table of values, and then graph it. Using our calculator, we are going to graph our quadratic function in order to get a better portrayal of how to graph it, and a table of values to help us graph it. So in our calculator, we are going to go to y equals, which is in that top left corner. And here I'm going to type in my equation x, which is the button next to alpha, x squared plus 4x minus 5 from our notes. And then first, I want to take a look at my graph. I want to see what it looks like, so I know I'm going to draw it the correct way. I get a general idea of where the vertex is. I'm going to hit graph. And here is my parabola, my U-shaped graph. And I can see we cross the x-axis here as well as over here. And our vertex is down in this lower section here. So our vertex is at around -2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, -2, -10, something like that. So in that general vicinity, but definitely where x is -2. So I'm going to find my table of values that I want to use. So I'm going to use second and then graph to access the table. And here is our table of values. I don't need to graph, 20 points, but I'm going to graph enough that I can make a nice U shape. My graph on my notes paper goes from -10 to +10, so I'm not going to go anything bigger than those numbers. So I'm going to stay here around -6, 7, down to maybe 2, 7. So I'm going to write those points on my graph or on my table, and then I'm going to graph that and look at what my parabola looks like. So using that calculator, I have written down my table of values. I've gone from my x values being -6 to a +2 and kept my y's under 10. So they've gone from 7 and they go down to -9 and then go back up to 7. I've also graphed it. And so I can see that I have a vertex. My vertex is at the very bottom. And that is at -2, -9. It's going to be the lowest point on my graph. So there is my vertex. And then I need to find my solutions. My solutions are going to exist when I cross the x-axis.
So those exist here. One of these is at -1. Sorry, that's a +1. +1, 0. And the other is at -5, 0. So those are going to occur whenever we cross the x-axis. So the y value is going to be 0. So those are our solutions. So our solutions occur. And depending on how the question is asked, we might say x equals -5, 1, or we could say -5, 0, the actual coordinate, and 1, 0.